Alrighty, guys, we got a lot of interesting topics to talk about today on this episode of Let's Talk About It. I'm glad to start bringing this series back. We put out a recent video of talking about, all the stuff Kevin Feige kind of outlined in his newest interview with Variety. A lot of stuff in there we talked about, but there's still some cool stuff, other stuff that we need to talk about today. And the first one is going to be this. Fantastic Four First Steps comes out in a couple of days. The one thing that us movie fans always look for is what is going to be the Rotten Tomatoes score, and what are the critics going to say of the movie. Is it going to be a good? Is it going to be bad? With Marvel, we never know nowadays because it can either be really great reviews or really bad reviews, as we've seen with a lot of the recent projects from Marvel. And we're lucky to say this now, it looks like Fantastic Four is good. And yeah, and you might be wondering, why am I saying that's surprising? Just a little housekeeping. I honestly thought, in my opinion, Fantastic Four would be in the maybe 70 to 60 range because no one's ever been able to crack this franchise. We've had 3 other movies, and they haven't really been the best. Those movies are very cheesy, and I've liked the Fantastic Four trailers, but I haven't loved them. Not how I loved all the Superman stuff, but they've been doing this new thing with Fantastic Four. They've been releasing these little clips of the movie online, which have actually gotten me more excited for the movie itself, more than any of the trailers have. But we're going to take a look at a few of these reviews and just kind of talk about, we're going to go through them, and then afterwards talk about, the thoughts about what's going on and what people are talking about this movie. So let's go check those reviews out right now. Alrighty, guys, as you see, we're going to be looking at some of the top critics right now. So we're going to go through a few of these, read them out, and then afterwards I'll give you my thoughts on them. So first off, we're going to start off with Amy Nicholson from the Los Angeles Times. This sad superhero movie plays like classic sci-fi, which adults wearing sweater vests solemnly brainstorm how to resolve a crisis. Watching it, I felt as snug as being nestled in the backseat of my grandparents' car, the drive-thru. Then Chris Klimek from Washington Post says, buoyant, bracing, and most shocking of all, brief. The Fantastic Four First Steps represents a quantum leap of ship writing. Michael Phillips from the Chicago Tribune, he liked it, saying it's not great superhero cinema, but good is good enough for the Fantastic Four. Peter Howe from the Toronto Star, after too many superhero movies, when the main objective seems to be introduce a myriad morose characters and multiple convoluted plotlines, it is refreshing to experience one that just wants to remind you of the simple pleasure of reading a comic book. I like that. That's a good review right there. Next, Sydney Hall from the Sydney Morning Herald. The action is spectacular, as you would expect, which doesn't mean that it's particularly suspenseful, but the film's success lies in the fact it puts in the fun back into the franchise. Now, those are some good ones, but then we also got some bad ones right here. Kitty Walsh from Tribune News Service says, perhaps it would have been best relegated to the small screen then, because the biggest one isn't doing this movie any favors. A message this urgently shouldn't be rendered in such a forgettable fashion. Alright, it's okay, not everyone's going to like everything, so it's okay. And then, of course, Odie Henderson from the Boston Globe, another person who did not like it, said, unfortunately, neither a time frame change nor the work of 4 screenwriters, Josh Friedman, Eric Pearson, Jeff Kaplan, Ian Springer, can fix the central problems with Fantastic Four movies. With one exception, the team members are colossal bores. So this guy or woman really did not like the movie, so that does it right there. And then we'll look at one more bad review. From Johnny Olinsky from the New York Post. First Steps might make a slight improvement from the preceding trilogy of terror, but Marvel still can't nail what should be one of its premier attractions. Alright, so those are the reviews. Alright, so those are just kind of like the basis of the reviews we have gotten for Fantastic Four. Listen, there's a lot of positive, which I said before, I did not think Fantastic Four would receive positive reviews. As of right now, it's sitting at an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, which, that is the same critic score Thunderbolts got. So good job, Marvel. 2 times in a row you got 80 plus reviewed movies on RT. So good for them. Good for them. A part of me is excited for this movie. And, I like on my list for most anticipated movies, I put Thunderbolts ahead of this. I put Superman ahead of this. Just in my life, I have seen 3 Fantastic Four movies. One of them, some of them I liked. Like, I liked them, but I liked them for, like, the reason why, like, I liked them was just because they were goofy and fun. That's what I thought the Fantastic Four was. There's these goofy type comic book characters. Now, with this one, I know we've all been excited for this. Like, it's this 1960s futuristic era, which is kind of the time the Fantastic Four were invented, and, like, the reason why they were invented by Jack Kirby in the first place. And what I also like, this is taking place on a different Earth, because you don't have to connect every single thread in this movie to everything that's been going on with the MCU, because right now, in my opinion, the MCU is in a complete, utter mess with the storylines they have going on. I'm glad that it's good. I am glad it's good, because I like to go watch good things. I don't want something to be bad. I don't think any of us want something to be bad, and it's refreshing that now we're since Superman, I think, we're getting these more comic booky type superhero movies, at a time, before, Superman or Fantastic Four, it was really like, we want realistic superhero movies like Iron Man, which is, some of it's kind of, out there, but Iron Man, it seems like someone could invent an Iron Man suit one day and, like, do the stuff Iron Man did, or look at the Batman movies, which takes a more realistic tone, focusing on the crime of Gotham, and it felt like for a while, like, that was the way to go with movies. And now, like, I think we're in a way where it's like, listen, people have watched comic book movies for more than a decade, and I think, like, I think some people just want to go to the theater and have a good time, escape the real world, because, the real world is a tough place sometimes, and I think people want to go see a movie like Fantastic Four, like Superman, just like, I just want to spend 2 hours watching a movie and have a smile on my face. That's what a movie is supposed to do. Listen, if I come out of this movie feeling like I was smiling and I was loving the characters, I will be like, I like the movie. Like, people were even saying that this movie is as good as Endgame, which, Endgame, I think is one of the best Marvel movies of all time. I know a lot of people don't put that on their list, but, like, with the way that movie was made, with how many actors and characters there are, like, I think it's a great accomplishment with how well that movie was received and how good it was, actually. And another interesting thing, I think people are going to be interested to see this because of what's coming up soon for Marvel in the Doomsday and Secret Wars movies. Like, us as the audience know that this is definitely going to connect to those movies, but I think the normal audience, it's like, oh, Fantastic Four, Marvel? Oh, I guess I'll go check it out. Like, I think people want to see good things. I think, especially me, like, I want to see good superhero content because I'm a guy who likes superhero content. It's what I grew up watching. It's what I always remember, watching really, really enjoyable superhero content. And I think the last few years, in my opinion, especially for Marvel and, with the DCEU, I think studios really thought that, like, if you just make a superhero movie, it's going to make all the money. And, we're finding out now that that's not the case. You look at the box office for Thunderbolts. You look at the box office for Captain America 4. People aren't just going to drop their money and go see a movie just because it says Marvel or DC on it. Like, you got to make a good movie. And what I loved about what Matt Shakman did in this movie is, like, he seems like he made a fun movie. Guys, remember, this is a guy who did WandaVision, which I regard as one of the best Marvel TV shows, period, of all time. Like, I was week to week on that show. Like, I was waiting for every twist and turn in that show, and I was so excited they got him. And I love that. And another worry for me was, like, can he bring what he did on a TV series, which is very much different from the movie, but how it's run? Can he bring that same, type of energy? Can he bring that same kind of, wonder and, like, stuff I felt watching WandaVision 2 a Fantastic Four, where he's kind of doing the same thing, going back and looking at this retro type of worlds, which WandaVision was. It was exploring the retro versions of TV shows, honoring, like, the television legacies through, like, each episode of WandaVision. And I think with these reviews, what people are saying, they're like, listen, this movie's good. Like, this movie is good, and it's about time somebody cracked Fantastic Four. Now, I have not seen the movie yet. I am not yet on the list of special people who go see that movie early, so I'm seeing it tomorrow afternoon. Very excited to see it. Listen, I'm going in with, I'm not trying to get my expectations high. I think a lot of people are going to go and it's like, oh, I need to see Doctor Doom. I need to see, the multiverse. I'm like, listen, I just need to go in. The reason why I'm excited for this movie is Galactus. Not just because I think Ralph Ineson has one of the best sounding voices of any human being on Earth. Like, have you heard this man speak? It's like, every time he speaks, it's like you get a little shivers down your skin and spine. Like, this guy, like, I've just been waiting to hear his Galactus. And say what you want about Silver Surfer, I think what they've done with Silver Surfer is going to be really cool. Because, the last time we got Silver Surfer, it was good. But also not the best, Rise of the Silver Surfer is not the best, movie, not the best comic book movie. And, I think it was a big risk to go back to those two characters, in my opinion. I think it was a huge risk because the first time people saw them, the general audience did not like the characters. Like, the reviews and box office show for that Fantastic Four movie, like a decade ago, like, how people felt about those characters. And I think it was a risk for them to go back and try to do it. But I think it seems like Matt Shakman's figured it out. I think this could be potential as one of the best Marvel movies just by reading the reviews. Now, the question is for me, of course, like, where will I rate it in my top movies this year? Because this has been in my opinion, this has been one of the best years for movies, in my opinion, for a long time. Like, I already know my number one is Sinners, of course, but right now, I'm still indecisive of what my number 2 and number 3 movies are, which is Superman or Thunderbolts, because I saw Thunderbolts so many times, and I loved it because of the personal connection that they were trying to tell in that story. I love Superman because of the message of hope and good, and like saying like anyone can be a good person, and I love the themes of that movie. Now, for Fantastic Four, I think the big theme going in is going to be family. They got to sell me on the family, and if I come out of this movie again, I'm saying a lot of things, but if I come out of the movie feeling like, hey, these are a group of characters I want to see again and again, I will probably put it up there. But I gotta see the movie first. I gotta give my ideas. But overall, this is great. What do you guys think about the RT score for Fantastic Four? It's at 88%. There are a lot of reviewers saying they love the movie, think it's a return to form for Marvel, but there are some who still think Marvel hasn't cracked the code back and aren't back to what they used to be. And of course, it's going to take a long time for them to recover that image again. But what are your thoughts on this? Leave your comments down below, and let's move on to our second topic here today. And that is this. Shifting our way over to another superhero franchise that is just blowing up right now in the DCU. We got a Wonder Woman movie coming. We all know it's coming. James Gunn's talked about it. He says, hey, Wonder Woman is a character we are going to see on screen one day. And we don't really have anyone attached to the movie. Like, we don't have a director. We don't have any actors. We don't even have an idea, like, when this movie's going to come out. Sorry about that. I need some water, guys. But apparently, we now officially have a writer for the Wonder Woman movie, and they're going in-house. They're going to go to a person who is working on another female-led superhero movie in Anna Nogueira. And that name sounds familiar. I'm going to tell you what she's been a part of. According to Deadline, Supergirl scribe Anna Nogueira, sorry if I got the name wrong, to pen Wonder Woman reboot for DC Studios. Now, you might be wondering, like, that name sounds familiar. And you're like, oh yeah, she's writing Supergirl, but she is also writing the Teen Titans movie, which it shows that this is a writer DC wants to work with. This is a writer that DC trusts at the moment. Listen, given her to write one movie, it's like, okay, we'll see how you do. Giving her 2 movies, like, okay, maybe you have some confidence in her. Giving her 3 DC movies to write means that they trust this person. That means I have to believe that Supergirl script is like really, really good. Of course, haven't read the script because I'm a very small channel, and they're not going to give me free to read that script, even though I would love to read it. And it seems like the script was really good. They trust her to do Teen Titans, which I don't even know when that's coming. And that is one of my most anticipated projects from DC, which is Teen Titans, because I grew up with those characters. And now she is going to be writing Wonder Woman. And I'm going to give some thoughts to, like, things that I, personally, me, of course, would like to see from Wonder Woman. I do not want them to go back into the past. I don't. I want to see a Wonder Woman in the modern day. Because I think this could be very much like what Superman was doing. Like, Superman was just a story about a guy trying to do good each other day. Like, just like he says, you know, I wake up every morning, put one foot in front of the number, and try to be good. In a way, you know, I hear that, I'm like, that could also be a way to go for Wonder Woman. You know, of course you don't want to do a copy and paste thing, but, like, you know, I think what they did with the DCEU Wonder Woman is that they kind of wanted to make her this badass warrior, you know, who's like this warrior princess, you know, in my opinion. Like, she was more like a She-Ra and a Red Sonja, if you know what those are, like, in the terms of the character Gal Gadot was playing. Of course, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of Gal Gadot. I don't think she's a very good actress. I think a lot of people honestly think that now. And I want this, like, Wonder Woman story to be inspiring. Like, listen, I think Wonder Woman is an inspiring character. You know, you look at the character, you know, she is an Amazon warrior, but she's also a person who has a really big heart. I really want to see that heart explored in a Wonder Woman film. And, of course, you know, my big cast for Wonder Woman, of course, you know, is Adrena from, of course, Andor. You know, I love her. You know, I will watch anything she is in now. And, you know, listen, like, if this person wrote, if she wrote Supergirl, and everything I'm thinking about Supergirl, like, that movie's going to be amazing. Like, that's at least what I'm kind of hearing from everyone I'm hearing from. And I'm also hearing, you know, that they trust this writer to not just handle one DC movie, but 2 others, including 3 DC films to write. Like, she's got something. She's got a very interesting perspective on, you know, what she wants to write. And I'm excited for this. And this is kind of our first concrete thing. It's like, okay, they're working on Supergirl. Like, this is so far Supergirl is making way more headway than The Brave and the Bold, which I don't even know when we're going to get that movie. And I don't even know if Andy Muschietti's even directing it anymore. But excited about this. We'll get news on Wonder Woman. More stuff for DC is going to make me especially excited. But what do you guys think? Wonder Woman officially has a writer, and it's none other than a writer who has been working on other DCU projects that everyone is super excited for, including me. Leave a comment down below what are your thoughts on this, and let's move on to our third topic here today. Alright, some more DC stuff. James Gunn's announced a lot of characters, you know, a lot of, you know, those are interesting to start with. One of those characters that I thought was interesting that he wanted to do was Booster Gold. And, you know, it was announced over 2 years ago, you know, that they would work on Booster Gold, but there haven't been a lot of, you know, headlines about it. You know, we don't know who's going to be playing the character, kind of like Wonder Woman. We don't know who's going to play the character. We don't know who's going to be, like, the showrunner. We don't even know who's writing it. And for a while, you know, I was thinking, like, maybe they aren't moving ahead with it. Maybe they're not going to move ahead with this character, but I guess I was wrong. Because according to Deadline, Booster Gold HBO Max series progressing with pilot penned by Our Flag Means Death creator David Jenkins. Now, if that name doesn't sound familiar, don't worry. Probably to a lot of people, it does not sound familiar, but what this guy worked on was familiar to me. Our Flag Means Death. Now, a lot of you might have heard that series now. The Our Flag Means Death was a very small HBO series, you know, which starred, you know, one of my favorite guys in Taika Waititi. And it was kind of like, you know, a comedy, you know, pirate show. I never watched it, but you also had a lot of great comedy guys in that show. And there were a few clips I watched and I thought, hey, that's pretty funny. And I think with Booster Gold, you have to make it a comedy because, you know, Booster Gold is a character who does not even take himself seriously. You know, he's a guy who works at a museum, steals a super suit, goes back in time to try to get rich and famous. And, of course, James Gunn said the series would be dealing with imposter syndrome, which is, I think, very, very great a character a look into the character of Booster Gold, because I think in a way he's an imposter. Like, he's not being a superhero because he wants to help people. He's being a superhero so he can get rich and famous. And of course, I've been excited about the possibility of maybe Booster Gold and, Sholo Mariana's Blue Beetle kind of having a history together, because Booster Gold and Ted Cord Blue Beetle were like best friends in the comics, and even some of the TV shows they presented it as that way as well. Now, of course, we just have a writer. Of course, it's the same thing with Wonder Woman. We have a writer, no director, no actor in the role, just concrete evidence that this show is still coming. He is still coming. And, I honestly became a fan of the Booster Gold character watching the animated show Justice League Unlimited, because they did this one episode with Booster Gold, which was like, told me so much about the character. It was because in Justice League Unlimited, he was in the Justice League, and he was like, in that one episode, he's like, listen, I want to do something. I want to get my name out because everyone just keeps calling me Green Lantern, which was like a great running rag in that episode. And, it was him. It's like, oh, there's this like big magic guy attacking the city. All the Justice League are coming in. And they're like, Booster was like, all right, I'm ready. Put me in, coach. And Martian Manhunter's like, we're going to just put you on crowd patrol. And then, it kind of turns and it's like, Bruce was like, listen, I know I can be a hero. He's not like, he doesn't want to be a hero because he wants to help people. He wants to be famous. He wants to be well known. And, it's a very enjoyable episode, which taught me a lot about Booster Gold, and like, it shows like how much he degrades himself, how much, he hates himself at times, because he's not like Superman, he's not like Batman, not even like Wonder Woman, not even in a way like the Flash or Green Lantern. He's just a guy in a suit with a flying, talking robot, and yeah, that's who he is. And I think this could be really good. I think they have the potential to, in a way, I see this in the realm of Peacemaker, like an unknown character that people don't know about. It's like, oh, why are you making a Booster Gold show? And they're going to watch it. It's like, I love Booster Gold. Now, there have been rumors also about who could play it. There's actors like Glenn Powell, Kumail Nanjiani, which, if they get Kumail Nanjiani to play Booster, I think that's like a perfect casting, in my opinion. And I know people don't like that because, Booster Gold's white and blonde. It's like, listen, if the actor is perfect for the role, cast the actor. It doesn't matter what he or she looks like, in my opinion. But what do you guys think about this? Apparently some headway is finally being made on the Booster Gold series, as we finally have a writer, and it's a guy who wrote a very, very funny show, and Our Flag Means Death. What do you guys think about this? Leave comments down below. And let's move on to our fourth topic here today. I talked a little bit on the last episode how Marvel is going to be rebooting their universe, but also rebooting the X-Men after Secret Wars. And, after we found that out, which I really much loved it during that, the question was, well, who could possibly be the X-Men? We've talked about numerous times on this series that, guys like Harris Dickinson for Cyclops. We talked about, even the time everyone fought, oh my god, what's her name? For Stranger Things, Max. Why can't I remember her name right now? Anyway, put in the comics if you guys remember her name. Oh my god, I can't. It's Sadie Sink. Sadie Sink, come on, me. Remember, it's Sadie Sink. Sadie Sink, people fought for a time. She was going to be our Jean Grey. I think now that's kind of ruled out now because, it doesn't seem they're going to be doing the X-Men until after, Secret Wars is done. Especially only with the rebooted cast. Well, one character that people love is Rogue. And another actor people really love is Margaret Qualley. And people have been fan casting her for years in this role as this character because, of course, she looks and acts like the character. Well, according to a new report in thecomicmovie.com, someone asked her about this, and Margaret Qualley gave a kind of reasonable answer for it. According to thecomicmovie.com, the Substance star, Margaret Qualley, responds to rumors she being eyed to play Rogue in X-Men reboot. Now, this kind of fits in with the mold that, Marvel wants to get a younger cast for X-Men. And, Margaret Qualley, she is in that, young range. I'm not going to lie, she's definitely the younger actress. She's definitely one of my favorite actresses working today. And she gave a little, Clyde was talking about, and this is what she had to say. Oh, I don't think I want to commit to a franchise. It seems like a lot of time, and I'm scared. Laughed. And then when she presented with the Rogue rumors, the actor replied, oh shit, okay. Listen, this is nothing new. I think actors are very hesitant in jumping into a big franchise. We've seen it many times. I always go back to Saoirse Ronan. I love Cerise or Saoirse Ronan. I love her. I think she's one of the best actors working today, but she's never done a franchise movie, and she's still found so much success out of it. And of course, I want to see her in a superhero project at one point. At a time, I was casting her to be my Jean Grey in the MCU, but but she says she loves those movies. Same for Margaret Qualley. Margaret Qualley, I think is one of the most talented actors working today. You look at her repertoire of movies. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino. Of course, recently she was in The Substance, which is a movie I'm interested to watch, but I don't want to watch it because it just seems so disturbing to me. Of course, she's also been in the video game space with Death Stranding, which was like a total surprise when I played the game, and I found her in that game. And, she's also worked with the Coens. I believe she did, I can't remember the name of that movie, but it was like, I think Drive Away Dolls. Yeah, I think it was Drive Away Dolls she did. Yeah. And so she's been doing a lot of working with a lot of acclaimed directors. And of course, she says in here oh, I don't have interest in it. But she's like, oh shit. Okay, yeah, Rogue. It's like, hey, I think for actors, unfortunately, if I was an actor, rather than just trying to get awards, in my opinion, I think an actor, their main job is they want to play a character that makes a lasting impression on someone. You think of Robert Downey Jr. People are going to remember Robert Downey Jr. For, in my opinion, Iron Man. But as a film fan, I go back to his other work. If that's in Tropic Thunder, Oppenheimer, those movies. Even I even like him in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. There's a scene I really love in that movie that really makes me love Robert Downey Jr. more, and I wish he would do more movies like that. But would I want to see Margaret Qualley as Rogue? Yeah, I would. But it all matters if it fits the story. I don't want it. I'm gonna be honest. I really want this first X-Men movie to have a small roster, and a lot of people are a small roster. Why? It's because just like the Avengers didn't start off with 10 or 15 people in it. The Avengers started off with, of course, 7. Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Black Panther, Hawkeye. In the comics, of course, Wasp and Ant-Man have been that starting lineup, but they went with that route. For X-Men, I've always said, I want them to start off with 5 core members. In my opinion, the first 5. Cyclops, Jean Grey, Iceman, Angel, and Beast, because those are the five characters who were the X-Men when they were first introduced. And I think you need to do that. I think definitely don't include Wolverine yet, because I want this X-Men to show that Wolverine is not the X-Men. He's a member of the X-Men. He shouldn't be the focal point of these X-Men movies like they did with 20th Century Fox. Of course, I want them to establish Cyclops as this leader. I want to establish Jean Grey as this overpowered mutant. I want, to see Iceman. I want to see Angel. I want to see Beast, I think a lot of people want that X-Men 97 roster. And, of course, I want to see Rogue, Of course, I like Anna Paquin as Rogue, but I never felt, she was the Rogue I read in the comics, or the Rogue I kind of grew up watching. The Rogue I want to see is the X-Men Evolution Rogue. This chick, this girl who's afraid of herself, but knows she has this power and doesn't take shit from anyone. That was the Rogue that made me really love the character, which was X-Men Evolution, which is by far my favorite X-Men show of all time. I love X-Men Evolution. I think it's vastly underrated. And I like the arc they went on with Rogue and X-Men 97 as well. Her dealing with grief and loss, showing, she's an X-Men, but she's also someone who, if you mess with her, she ain't going to give 2 shits about you. And I think Margaret Qualley could play that to a T, but it all depends on if she wants to do it and what Marvel is looking for, even if they are looking at doing Rogue. But they probably are. They're probably planning a whole bunch of X-Men for when that comes out. But what do you guys think about this? Margaret Qualley responds to rumors that saying if she is going to be a part of this new X-Men, especially with her being part of Rogue. What do you guys think about this? Leave comments below, and that's going to be it on our topics for today. I really hope you guys check out this video. Go over the Patreon, check out our movie reactions, go check out all the stuff we do on the channel, because we got a lot of cool stuff coming up. We got movie reactions, we got more TV show reactions, we got Peacemaker and Alien Earth coming out next month, which we'll react to. So excited for all the content coming out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.